get your tail all up in there.
Okay.
Okay, then.
Make sure this looks presentable. I like how I'm so comfy and you're like...
What?
Just there.
What do you mean?
I have all the pillows.
Oh, I'm like, I'm in leggings.
No, I just meant the pillows. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Music Lens Podcast with me, Alex Allegra.
And Katie Fee.
So we had to hop on, like, right away because Katie brought up a really good point, and I was like, oh, wait, no, I want to talk about this on the podcast. Amongst a lot of other things that we have to talk about, because we did not talk as much as we wanted to last week, last week's episode.
Yeah.
Even though we talked for an hour about current events. But we still had more.
There's still more. It's fine.
It's okay. So, Katie, what did you say?
Okay, so we got an email for our podcast email that was like, hey, Spotify is going to start showing how many plays you have on each episode to people. And I know that there was like, I don't know who posted it, but there was someone talking about it for artists as well, of just like songs of
so you brought up exactly what so this is why, because I saw a TikTok about it and somebody was like, it's stupid that they even have like monthly listeners and all that stuff, because it shouldn't be a metric that people look at so closely. Like, it's really like deterring a lot of things because
the artist
as
team
we talk
should have
about
access
it
still.
Yes, because it's good for numbers and knowing where your audience sits and all of that stuff. But I mean,
it's also,
it doesn't necessarily mean that people aren't going to ask for it, because it's like, even though it's not public, you still know, and like they could still ask. But I think the point of the TikTok was to get people to stop asking for those types of numbers in the first place,
and just like general listeners don't need to know either.
No, because it just puts a comparison on your back. It's like, oh well, your song didn't do as good as Katie's song did for release day, it must not be good. And
like oh, this one's even within your own music, like this song didn't do as well as this song, like I guess album wise, if they're released the same time, it's like, well, that song's not doing well, but this other one on it is,
and it's really deterring, and it just like, it goes along with the fact that like we're so ingrained in numbers nowadays and like everything. It goes along with everything, and I love that somebody's like calling out and saying like, hey, this is stupid. So for it to be added to the podcast and basically be like YouTube now, it's like, really? Is that necessary?
We don't need that.
Why are you calling more attention to the fact that like somebody isn't doing as well as somebody else? Like, that's just so like, Spotify is turning into the bully, which it already has been for how long, and we still listen to Spotify 24/7. Love you, Spotty, but like
Spotty.
Love you, Spotty, but like we need to change the subject a little bit.
Yeah, and I feel like there are times where people will look and see, if they're not looking at the release date to like, I guess, justify the numbers, they're like, oh, this only has this many views, like why would I bother? Like, clearly people aren't liking it if it only has this many views, but it could just be that it's new and hasn't been seen by many people yet because it's new.
Yes.
Not because it's bad.
And I think this is the time for me to also say, like, I sometimes complain that we have kind of lower numbers than we would like to be seeing. But I would like to shout out the one guy on YouTube that always comments on our stuff and is always like, you girls are awesome, because I feel like we have it, and I don't want to put people that have genuinely been supporting us, our friends and our family and stuff that genuinely have been listening, like, I don't want to put you guys on blast, because we sincerely appreciate that so much. We just want to reach more of you people so that we can continue to talk and continue to, I mean, to be fair, if this podcast wasn't just such a passion project for the two of us, we would have ended it a long time ago now, because we've done this for a year, and like, it's not exactly like we've gone viral or anything yet. So if this really wasn't just like something that we were just so passionate about and just like wanted to talk about,
we'd be done by now if it wasn't.
So we genuinely appreciate when anyone takes the time to listen to it. So
and it's not necessarily about like wanting to have like millions of listeners or anything like that, but we are trying our whole goal is to provide content and knowledge to help people, so that way other artists that might be struggling with different things can have some sort of resource and also find connection with us as independent artists of things that we might be also struggling with, and they're like, okay, I'm not alone in this. And so we would like to reach more people in the sense of having that we can be a resource for people.
And I cut out this part of the podcast last week because it just was a little rambly. I don't know if you noticed, but
which part?
One thing that I cut out last week was just that feeling of not being alone, and like a lot of people claim they don't have like a backup plan, and for us we don't really have a backup plan. Like this really, music really was the end goal, period. And sometimes you get a little older and you can't, and if music isn't supplying the money that it needs to be, you have to find a job, because you don't want to just be stranded out on the street. And like that poor starving artist thing doesn't have to be a thing anymore, because you can fall in love with other aspects of the industry, and we genuinely have, but like music is still like plan A in the top of our minds. So that's a little more concise of what I my mental breakdown about it last week, but I didn't feel like the internet needed to hear all of that last week, so I kind of cut it out. But it kind of relates to this whole thing of like, why does Spotify feel the need to put out numbers that already are making people feel more like competitive or down on themselves than it is helping anything? Because if it, I know it is about all the numbers, but like if you really want to see that, like go onto someone's TikTok and Instagram, and honestly, the reason that they're asking
Instagram has like the option to hide shares counts and hide
to try and deter that bullying,
hide like counts, hide share counts, and I automatically, like every time I post for us or for myself, I go and I hide it, because I'm like, it's not healthy to look at that for myself, so I'm like, we're just gonna hide those. No one needs to know those.
This is just a stupid update that Spotify feels the need to put on, like, and again, no one's asking for those types of things. You're either listening to a podcast at this point or you're not. I feel like podcasts are a little different in that aspect.
You can like rate and review podcasts on Spotify, and like that should be your like vetting process for like listeners trying to decide if they want to listen to a podcast. It should be based on that, kind of the way like you're trying to buy a product online and you're trying to decide if you think it's good quality or not. You look at the reviews, like they don't have a view count of how many times someone has looked at a product. So why do we have to do that for podcast episodes? Because it's kind of a product in a way as well, just a intangible one. So yeah, that was something we saw right before we started recording, and was like, okay, this is something to talk about. So hop on right away. So yeah. Are we just gonna jump right into ACMs? Jump right in. Okay, so
this is week 2 of catch up and news topics.
We've been doing catch up for a while, honestly, but it's fine. I feel like we
always have a catch up at the beginning of every episode.
Yeah,
though.
I feel like that's just a thing with. There's so much going on in the industry, so it's good to have catch up episodes, and also we've kind of been doing like award show based episodes, like the whole time we've podcasted as well. So we're gonna do an ACMs one this week. ACMs were Thursday night last week on May 8th in Frisco, Texas, which is basically Dallas, and Reba hosted. So we're gonna talk about the award show. Did you watch clips or watch it at all, or am I just gonna be feeding you all the knowledge? I'm gonna feed you all the knowledge.
I know who won and stuff, but
yeah, okay.
I did social media for things for that night, but like I wasn't there or anything, but
yeah,
I did a variety of things before, and I was also working that night too at a different show, so I was taking photos there.
Yeah. I have like a couple things for like outfits for red carpet, and then just kind of jump into the award show. Because I sent you Jessie Murph brought a pig with her on red carpet. Yeah. I was like, okay.
Here's the
cute pig. I saw other people getting to hold the pig, so that was kind of fun. Yeah, because it's like not expected.
We already questioned the country music aspect of herself, and I get the collabs, but again, it was more like, okay, she's from Texas, and like, but then she even post getting that award, the newest song of hers, Blue Strips,
yeah,
is very much not rappy and like so not country in any sense. So it really threw me even more like why was she nominated for ACMs? It makes no sense.
But her outfit was it was based off of a look of Priscilla Presley's, so I liked that. And then
she already does like the bump in her hair as like a signature to her anyways.
Yeah, and Megan Maroney had a yellow dress on, and she said something about like she referenced Andy Anderson, which is the How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days character played by Kate Hudson.
She looks gorgeous.
Yes, I was like, okay, so there's a couple people just like referencing other people's looks on the carpet that I thought was cool. How do you feel about Kelsey's dress?
It was fine. I mean, it was just a very typical award show look. It wasn't anything special. It was like...
It looked like she was wearing a bra on top of her dress.
Oh. Yeah, because it was like black and then like it was all nude. So like the color contrast, yeah.
Yeah.
But then she changed like 3 different times because her performance look was a glittery silver jumpsuit.
Like it was like a disco ball jumpsuit. Yeah. I love that.
And then in the audience, she was wearing this like weird metallic chrome thing, which was so cute. And I was like, why wasn't that the look on the carpet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also, why did she change into a completely different dress after the fact? I don't know.
Maybe she just wanted a different look.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She couldn't decide between 2 dresses, so she said, okay, this one's inside, this one's outside.
Lainey had like 3 different looks. Ella had at least 3 or 4 as well. So like that's just with award shows, I think, where you have multiple looks.
Does the dress get too sweaty and gross and they're like, I don't want to put this back on, and then they're like, okay, give me a new dress. Or
maybe it's just like hard to put back on.
That's what I
don't know. Like the hardest dress goes first, and then you
get into because then you can move around more.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's all I had for like look stuff. I didn't really look too closely. That was just the stuff I was seeing on socials.
There wasn't any like big dress moments. I will say, I'm gonna call Ashley Cook out here really fast. I'm so sorry.
I didn't see her.
She had a TikTok that was like, pick out my ACM award dress, and she had like 3 different options. And I knew everyone, based on the comments and just the look of it, knew everyone was gonna pick the red dress that she ended up wearing on the carpet because it was just like very sexy, very like flashy, and I just knew that based on her fan base and how she normally dresses, like that would be the one she picked. But she tried on, it was like the 3rd or 4th option, and it was gorgeous, and it looked like an award show dress, whereas the red dress I felt like looked like a prom dress.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I haven't seen that one. I just looked up the red one.
But it just looked like a prom dress, but she did bring her dad, which was really cute. So
that's nice. Yeah.
That's the only thing I was like, because I follow Ashley pretty closely. So I was like, because I got to be in her music video once. And so that was my one thing is I was just like, I know why. I knew it was going to be it, but it was just one of those things that I was like, can I tell you why you should have picked the other one? Because it looked more like award-esque. It looked more like sophisticated. Whereas like the red one was pretty, but it looked very basic, very prom-like.
Yeah. Okay. But this was the 60th ACMs, so they were very much into the, like, honoring 60 years of it and making it a celebration of the milestone. And so they did an opening that covered 6 decades of country music.
Oh, that's cool. Was the opening Ella and Miranda too? No. That was something else? Okay.
That was for, because it's been 20 years since Kerosene came out.
Okay.
But, so Reba opened with Okie from Muskogee, originally by Merle Haggard, and that was the 60s. And then Clint Black did Rhinestone Cowboy, originally by Glenn Campbell in the 70s. Wynonna did Why Not Me for 80s. Leanne Rimes did Blue for 90s. And then they skipped the 2000s, went to 2010s. They went from 97 to 2014 to do Girl Crush for Little Big Town. And then Dan and Shay did Tequila for the 2020s. And so they skipped the 2000s. And I'm like, they said 6 decades, but technically it's 7 because like 1960s to 2020s.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they were like, well, Kerosene's going to happen later and that's the 2000s because that was 2005.
Right.
So I'm like, does that count to cover that part, I guess? But
or it wasn't I was going to say, is it because like not a lot happened from the 2000s to the 2010s, but then I'm also like, happened. So much is different from Carrie, the 2000s Miranda, to the like, 2010s decade. So yeah, that doesn't even make any sense.
If they really wanted to somehow get Taylor to join, she could have done something for 2000s.
She wouldn't do that.
Because that's like Fearless and all that would have been 2008.
No, but you could have done like Redneck Woman. You could have done Suds in the Bucket. You could have, or any of those artists.
And they were there, so.
Like you could have done Faith Hill. You could have done like This Kiss. You could have done Trisha. You could have done.
This Kiss, and then I think a lot of Trisha's 90s, but yeah,
Oh,
Suds in the
really?
Bucket is like early 2000s.
I knew that one was.
Yeah, you could have done like Brad or Tim
You
McGraw
could
or
have done
something
Tim
like
McGraw.
Kenny. I think you
Kenny
said Kenny.
Chesney. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really know why they like skipped that one, but maybe like I said, it could have been just because kerosene was already happening, and they're like, well, it gets kind of covered later in a different way. But
Tequila for me feels more 2010s. Honestly, I know it's not, but like I felt like you could have done 2000s and then one final one to like
for
round it
2010 to
out.
2020.
Yeah, that one because
Yeah.
it's so new. It feels still like
Yeah.
the same era.
Right. But Shay held out the longest note at the end. And it was just like, oh, he's still going. It was like, okay.
So this is my
go
moment.
off, Shay. And then Jelly and Bunny were like singing Tequila to each other and like just in their own little world in the audience. And
Jelly
I was like,
Roll
it's so sweet.
looks amazing right now. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't fat shame at all, and like I kind of liked his whole big body thing. It was fun. It was definitely his thing. But I don't know if it was because he was training for that 5K down in Florida and he lost a whole bunch of weight.
I think
then.
it's just
If
health wise,
it's
like
touring and being healthy.
He's
but
trying to
he
lose.
lost.
Yeah.
Like you can just. I was like, I looked at those pictures for so long. I was like, did Jelly Roll lose a bunch of weight? Like, am I crazy? Like, no,
he has lost.
He's gone down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for him as long as it's healthy and it's not just Ozempic shots. But
right, no, yeah, he's trying to be healthier with stuff. There's like I don't know who interviewed him, but yeah,
because I really hate that we've gone out of the whole body positivity thing and people are trying to act like, oh, I'm just really, really healthy and all this stuff when like Ozempic has been like a thing now, and I think a lot of doctors are trying to give like some shots to like boost a bunch of metabolisms and stuff. So like when it's like that, you're not poor or you're not ugly, you're just poor kind of mentality. And I really don't want every person because we've Meghan Trainor, Lizzo, all those body positivity people are just like, no, I was just unhealthy now and stuff, and like, oh, I've just lost this bunch of weight all of a sudden magically, like naturally. And I just don't want it. I just really don't want to go back into the starving yourself because that's the only way that you're pretty again. Because no, I can't go back there, people. We need to move on.
Yeah. So they started with Song of the Year, which Reba like was like, because it all starts with a song. Here to present Song of the Year, and did that. So that was cool. Dirt Cheap won by Cody Johnson, and I didn't know that it was a solo write by Josh Phillips. So like Cody spoke for a little bit and then Josh got to speak as well. So I'm happy that he finally won for Dirt Cheap because I wanted that song to win at the CMAs and White Horse won instead, which was not nominated this time around. But like, yeah, it's the better song. So thank you, ACMs.
I can't believe you told me that was Cody Johnson's first win because there was a year that he was like,
right. I was like
nominated for everything and like first came out on the scene, and I just don't know how he didn't win something that year because I heard about him so much.
Yeah, first win, which I guess it goes to him. I think I had that pulled up of like, because it's this about the song, but it does still go to the artist as well as the songwriters and publishers.
Right.
So he does count that as a win, even though it was a outside cut. But yeah, and then I guess I'm just kind of listing things that I don't have.
We don't need to talk about everything, but I do have some other thoughts.
I don't really have thoughts on Eric Church, honestly, because it was just
the first time Katie doesn't have thoughts on Mr. Church. What?
He did Hands of Time. It was basically what was expected of like what it was. Then Miranda did Run, which is the one from her album that was written like 10 years ago and is allegedly about Blake, who was also there. Yeah. So they obviously didn't do anything with that, but I was just like, oh, she's singing this in front of him in a way.
It's
so I wonder how that feels.
Point, though, that like if you're releasing a song like that 10 years later, that you
hopefully
can stand behind
enough.
It in the point where it's like if anyone entered this room right now, you could sing in front of them. So
yeah. And then that's when Kerosene was after that. Ella came out and she wore the Mama Tried tank top.
Yes, she wore
from the
top.
music video.
She did.
So that was great. I loved that. Also, Bobby Bones was like semi-hosting. He wasn't like an official
Okay.
host, but they would randomly like have parts before commercial breaks where he'd like walk through the crowd and talk to
You
people.
know, that's actually really funny. I'm surprised he hasn't hosted any award
I don't
show.
think he needs to.
But I feel like that would make the most
I
sense. He's
think
already a
artists
radio
are.
host and he's like I just think that would make the most sense if like the artist thing isn't
I'm
working for
okay with
people.
artists hosting and not having like radio personalities host, but yeah,
But
he
Bobby
had
just
Jelly
feels so
sign a
different than
jelly.
like just I saw that, yeah. I just feel like that seems so different from like a radio personality. I don't know. Maybe because he's
Yeah,
also like an artist himself and like does a lot. Like he just
yeah.
feels a little different.
I don't know. It was interesting. It was like, okay, what's happening?
Oh, I
Um,
saw this is so random, but I saw an Instagram post that was about it may have been where we got Ant, but like there was a bulldog and yes, it was. And her name is Minnow and she's up for
oh,
adoption right now and she's the cutest thing. But somebody was like, Bobby Bones needs to get Pancake. Oh, no, not Pancake. What's his dog's name?
I don't remember.
He has a bulldog, but he was like,
Yeah.
he needs to get him a girlfriend.
Oh,
It
yes.
was really cute.
Adopt. Yeah. And then they had new male artist of the year winner Zach Top perform. He just did acoustic, him and his guitar, so I thought that was nice just to have a different type of performance since a lot of people do like the big like over the top type thing for these award shows. To have a stripped down one was nice. Group of the year went to Old Dominion, and so now they have the most wins for Group of the Year with an eighth consecutive year. They broke Rascal Flatts' record now, so
That's okay.
yeah.
I love Old Dominion.
I was like, I'm good with that. That
Besides the
makes
fact we
sense.
didn't get into the bar.
I know, there's
That
that.
is okay.
Yeah.
I can't hate them for it though. Katie can apparently.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
We'll get there eventually. They just won't be there when we're there. It's fine. Then Blake Shelton performed Texas in Texas. Makes sense. Jelly Roll was like dancing in the crowd, and I just want to say he feels like the new Taylor of country at award shows. Of like he's just having the time of his life the whole time, and I love that
I
they
would
cut to
be.
him
I
so
don't
much.
get why people are just sitting down. Except I would feel a little bad standing if no one else was, so I didn't block people behind me. That would be my only thing. So,
Yeah,
but I'd be fist pumping in the air, you know.
he was loving it. Yeah, it was great. Lainey did Whirlwind. She had this leather outfit where it was like a corset top and then like little armbands of fringe and stuff. And I was like, ooh, I like this. I don't know if I've seen her. I feel like she does so much denim with the bell bottoms that it's kind of nice to see like a different, like, I guess, fabric.
Texture.
Yeah, texture. Because obviously bell bottoms is like here to stay for her, so like finding ways to switch that up and still have like variety with her looks, so I love that. Chris Stapleton won male artist of the year, which I don't know, I'm just like, it's the way that they word artists of the year for ACMs. It's artist, like CMAs they say vocalist, and I feel like they just kind of sometimes give it like, oh, Chris Stapleton, like who can beat his voice kind of thing, but it's supposed to be artist, like overall artist, and he hasn't released an album since 2023, so I just feel like someone else should have won for this
Yeah.
one. I'm not exactly sure who. Maybe Jelly, maybe Luke Combs.
Well, and that's
but
interesting because Jelly didn't win anything out of the 6
no,
awards he was nominated for. He won 0, and Jelly should have won. I think. Yeah.
he posted a video with his song "Losers" and
Yeah,
was
I saw
like,
that.
when you go 0 for 6 at your last 2 award shows. So I don't think it was 6 for this one. I think it was like combined with a different award show. But he's lost like every award he's been nominated for.
Which is just crazy because
Like, oh,
if you've seen him live, like, you know, the artistry is there. He just opened a bar. Like, he's, as an overall artist, I think he's really kind of done a lot this year that's made, and he's on tour with Post Malone now. Like, he's really up there. That shouldn't be. I agree. Yeah. He should have won.
And then it was interesting that like all they did for like honoring people who have passed away within this last year, instead of like having a like tribute performance, Reba came out and just like kind of sang Me and Bobby McGee acoustically before talking and like mentioning Chris Christopherson because he wrote that. And then
Oh, he died within this last year? Jeez.
yeah, and I feel bad one of the Oak Ridge boys. I can't remember the name.
Okay.
Which they replaced him already because they gave out an award and had the new guy in there. It was like, oh, I didn't know you replace people, but I guess it makes sense. They mentioned Dolly's husband too, but that was like about it.
I was gonna say I just don't think there was a lot of people.
They didn't have like a tribute
year.
thing at all, and I'm like, usually they have at least some type of song with a slideshow of people. Oh, and Ben Vaughn, so a non-artist that had passed recently, that executive person, that was like right before the Grammys, I think, because they got him into the Grammys one. Duo of the Year went to Brooks and Dunn.
Okay.
They did a reboot album this last year, but not really much else. Like, I get their legends, but I just don't know if they're the duo of 2024.
Yeah.
Since this is supposed to be celebrating the last year. It was interesting. Christian Bush presented it, and Jennifer Nettles, I guess, fell ill the morning of, so she couldn't present with him. So he like acknowledged that, and then he's like, "I'm giving this award back to them that they gave to us." So I guess they presented when Sugarland had won at one point, but I don't know. I don't know who would be duo
even
of
when
the year,
Sugarland
though.
had their reboot. I don't think they won though.
Yeah. Because it's like Dan and Shay, Brothers Osborne, Muscadine Bloodline, and War and Treaty are the other options. Dan
Brothers
and Shay also
Osborne,
haven't put stuff out.
I was gonna say Brothers Osborne's the only one that I could see actually getting that because they've done a lot.
They did like an
very
EP,
underappreciated
EP last year, and they've started releasing some stuff this year, so maybe them. But I feel like there wasn't any like strong front runner for that category,
and
this
that's
year.
when I think people just go to like old reliable type things. So
yeah, I guess so. And then Kelsey performed Baggage on a giant pile of baggage.
Well, it's her like screen. It's like the album artwork essentially that she just like brings everywhere.
Yeah, so she definitely like brought her like tour vibes with that, of like having such a big thematic type performance, which I loved. And they had like the band on the B stage, I think, just because there's so much baggage on the main stage, like to make room.
I kind of liked it though. I thought it was cute. They would pan back and forth,
right? Yeah.
And I saw a TikTok of like one of the guy's daughters was watching, and she was like, "It's Daddy!"
Oh, cute. I saw one where everyone freaked out. It's like, is she gonna do it?
Everyone freaked out about the flipping the bird and said, "Fuck on national television."
Because it's Amazon Prime, so they're allowed to be uncensored, and I'm just not used to it because you see so many award shows where it is censored because it's usually on like cable television. And so I was like, oh, I forgot this is Amazon Prime. She's allowed to swear.
I think. Well, she said that she like wanted to get over her fear of it, so once she did it at like Alex Cooper's stage live and she flipped everyone off, I think she got over it, so now she's like not afraid to do it. But no, that is weird that you didn't have to censor. I didn't know that. I was wondering why everyone freaked out because I was like, okay, they still censored it though, but I didn't know they just didn't censor it.
Chris Stapleton saying It Takes a Woman, which I had to look up. That's from the 2023 album. It was
he's about to go back on tour and everything, so
and then Ella performed, and she's new female artist of the year this year, which was announced like prior to the show. If it weren't for the wind, and I noticed her outfit was kind of similar to Lainey's with like leather and fringe and stuff, but like still different enough. But I liked her outfit as well. I guess I like leather fringe outfits. Apparently.
I feel like that's also her. Like she kind of
it fits. Yeah.
And she won with Riley with their song.
Yeah. We have all of that as well, but she won like. She was the most nominated, which we've talked about in a previous episode, with 8. She won 5 of them, which makes her the most winningest of the night. Yeah. So, most nominated and won the most. And
which I feel like you don't get a lot. I feel like most nominated always, like, for some reason, then people don't want to go vote for you after that. And they're like, you'll win something. You don't need this.
I think it makes sense for this.
It probably isn't like that. That's just what it feels like, because then no one ever wins any of their awards that they get nominated for when you're most. But obviously, if you're nominated that much, it means you have something going on for you. So, like.
Yeah. I loved her performance, and it felt like if I didn't know country music or anything, I would just assume this is someone who's been doing it for a long time and is used to playing award shows. Because, like, I feel like with newer people, there's a little bit of, like, greenness still of, like, okay, this is the first time playing an award show where you're playing in front of not only like televised nationally or on Amazon Prime, whatever, but you're also performing in front of all your peers and all the people you look up to. And she just seems like a total pro. So
Yeah.
I was impressed by that.
I always feel like it's the people, I think it's the CMT awards when they do like the new artists and they like put them on a B stage and they have like
Yeah.
a 30-second or like a minute and a half little
Yeah.
short
Very
set.
short.
Those ones are always the ones that feel like people are so nervous to be on and do something for. I have 2 points. One, that just always feels like they're the ones that get nervous a lot. And I think it also has to do with like if you've been on a bunch of headlining tours or like yourself,
Right, if you're
even
used to it.
and if you're used to just performing for people in general, because a lot of times it's like the people that are put on those positions are like only openers, so they don't even see the full crowd and they're not playing and they're still playing in the daylight, or like they're like they don't even really write with a whole lot of people outside of their group, so like seeing all of the, like their idols and everything in one room is just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Also CMTs I feel like are like the first time that a lot of people, that is their first award show, and then you kind of get put into the rest of them. Also, and I went to this because I thought about Tiger Lily when they first performed.
Right.
I Tried to Ring On.
Which
they
also
seemed really nervous that first time they did that on an award show. How were they not nominated for Duo of the Year at least?
I don't think they're there yet.
You don't?
Yeah.
I
Just comparing to like the other people nominated, like, no, there's no front runner in that category, but I still think all 5 of the nominees are like
Or
bigger
Maddie
than
and
Tiger
Tay.
Lily. Maddie and Tay, yeah.
They could have easily
They could have
won.
been put back in there, yeah.
Easily won. Warren Treaty, I just feel like everyone is rooting for them, and I don't blame them. Like, I think
Yeah.
they're a good act. I just don't see them doing anything really.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to
I think-
justify that when I see Maddie and Tay working their butts off.
I
all the
think they'll
time.
be back in it next year because they put out the album this
Yeah.
year. Tiger Lily, maybe the same thing could potentially,
Drunk
depending
Girls
on
in
how well they're
Bathrooms
doing.
should have been performed at the ACMs, honestly.
Yeah. There's also, if you're in Nashville, I don't know how long this is going on, but I saw that they put like Drunk Girls in Bathrooms, like picture ops in some bathrooms in like 6 different places
That's
downtown.
so cute.
One of them's category 10, which I was at the other night, and I think it was put in there like after I had already been in there.
Genius marketing.
So I was like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, also they let Tiger Lily Gold play last year for winning new duo group, but then who was it? Red Clay Strays won new duo group this year and nothing. So that's interesting too that they didn't get like a performance, but the other 2 of the like 3 new categories got to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know why that was. And I can't remember last year if they had all 3 then, since
I don't know
would
the
think they
behind the
have all
scenes
3.
process really of how they pick people to play on these. I don't know if it's a bidding process or what it is. So
Right.
if anyone has any insight on that, that'd be really
Let us
interesting
know.
to know.
That'd be interesting, yeah. And then single of the year was after Ella, and she won that with Riley for You Look Like You Love Me. It also won visual media of the year, and she won that for artists and producers, so that's where you get the 5 for her. A music event, which is later on, was the 5th one then. But Reba presented it, and it was like single of the year presented by realtor.com. And I'm like, okay, so I guess you had to throw a sponsorship in here somewhere. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Sure, why not? And then they have the inaugural ACM Alan Jackson Lifetime Achievement Award given to Alan Jackson, since it's like the first time doing it and it's named after him and all that. And so they had him perform Remember When. And then his speech was interesting. He's like, a few years ago, one of my fans named their dog after me. Thought that was really something, but this. So he's like, okay, jokes aside, and then got like emotional after that. But I was like, whoa.
Have you seen
dog.
the interview with Keith Urban talking about Alan Jackson?
Yeah, he was like in a music video.
Yeah,
and
when he
didn't
was
get
in their
any
first music
interaction.
video, and he was like,
yeah.
and then he goes,
he apologized
later.
years
They got
later.
to know each other, and they were like,
I didn't
"Oh,
wanna do
sorry, dude,
that."
I didn't want to be in that video."
Yeah. He also thanked, he's like, my best friend since I was 17 years old, my wife. And I'm like,
Oh, that's
oh, I didn't know they were like, I'm assuming if 17, probably a high school sweetheart. So that's really sweet.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Best friends since I was 17.
Oh, since I was 17. I thought you said 17 years, and I was like,
No,
he's older than
no.
that for
They've
that
been
to
together
be, yeah.
for a long time. They have children. Yeah. I love that. I love that in the like opening at the start of the show they mentioned that they were gonna honor him and he got a standing ovation just like at the start of the show about it. And I was like, oh, I don't know. It's just really moving. I feel like, hey, this guy's really important in country music. And I know, like, health wise, he hasn't been doing the best. And he has this, like, stand thing that they put behind him so he can stand while he performs, but he has to, like, lean on it.
Oh.
So, yes, just God bless Alan Jackson.
Okay.
Next was female artist of the year, and I loved what they did with this. I don't know why they just had like Clint Black present male, which was fine. Like still it was like someone who won it like years previously, but for female they had it presented by Martina McBride, Gretchen Wilson, Sarah Evans, Crystal Gale, and Winona Judd, and each of them like got to speak about one of the current nominees and do a little like paragraph, I guess, of each of them of why they deserve to be nominated and stuff. So that was really sweet. Casey Musgraves was the only one who wasn't there, so they just had Crystal like speaking without Casey on screen, obviously, but they had it kind of like a 2-camera shot of both of them for the others to like see them. So that was nice. And Lainey won.
Mm-hmm. I did see that.
She was like, the girls are kicking down some barn doors and I like it.
Oh, that's
like,
cute.
I love that. They showed Megan like laughed about that in the crowd. And then Jelly Roll performed Heart of Stone, and then Shabuzi came out and they sang Amen together, which is their collab on Shabuzi's album. So that's nice that he's like getting some kind of like time to try and promote and I guess move on from a bar song.
Yeah.
To, like,
well,
keep
going back to what we talked about last week of that having those number ones for your first one, and then like what are you going to follow up with? Well, I do feel like Shabuzi the good song, it's like Good Time,
Good
or
News.
Good News. I feel like they do play that on the radio,
Okay.
actually a good chunk.
That's
so I
good.
feel like they
Yeah.
actually genuinely have tried to keep him up there, but obviously it's not as good as Bar Song. So
Right.
I think I really don't want him to go away. I think he would do really well
Yeah.
in this, but like I think even of like Little Nas
His
X,
voice
like
is so
even
good,
he's
too.
like completely out of it within like 5 years. So it's
Right.
like, come on, Shabuzi, let's keep
Yeah.
it up there, buddy.
Yeah. And then Keith Urban got the Triple Crown Award, which is he qualified by winning New Male, Top Male, and Entertainer of the Year. So they did like 3 different performances to honor him for that. So Megan Maroney did Stupid Boy. And I think it's just because we heard that live with Kelsey. I was like, I would have loved Kelsey to do it, but
She already performed. And
she
Megan
already
didn't
performed.
Get to do anything.
Megan hasn't done anything, so I think they're like, we need time for Megan to be able to perform.
And I agree. I think Megan deserved to be performing in some way, so that's fine.
And then Chris Stapleton did Blue Ain't Your Color. Perfect choice for that with his voice.
so
I was
good.
like,
Ugh.
yes, that was what needed to happen. And then Brothers Osborne did Where the Blacktop Ends.
Oh, that's awesome.
They like had, I don't know, because they don't, maybe just the camera angle, you can't see the ground. I'm like, is this guitar on the ground, or is it on a stand where you just don't see it? Because he like, they cut to him and he's like, oh, and he goes, leans over, picks up a guitar, and then goes to like join him on stage and is like playing while walking to the stage and everything. So that was like a cool way to like have him join at the end to then accept the award.
Yeah.
He did almost fall over at the end.
Oh.
It was like, whoa, you almost fell there, dude. But
it's so he's so energetic for being so old. I don't want to say it, but you know, like I just love him.
I was gonna say like they kept obviously showing him, but like Nicole's with him and they're both singing and like having a good time in the crowd with this performance, and Nicole looks so good. Like she does not look like she's like she's like 57, 58, something like that. Does not look like she's almost 60 years old.
No, I know.
So yeah, it's just weird to think that they're getting
They're going to make
age.
it to 100, though, so don't you worry. We still got
Yes.
40 years left, and obviously he hasn't slowed down anytime soon, so.
Not at all. But, yeah, he got emotional with his acceptance speech and was kind of like at a loss of words of like how to even speak to begin with.
I can imagine.
Which was sweet. And he was like, Nicole Mary, I love you, baby girl. And I'm like, I don't love baby girl for most people, but like it
I also
seems to
hate
fit for them.
Yes, but I also hate it because isn't Baby Girl the movie she's in, like the big sex movie that she's in?
I have no idea.
Oh, I'll be showing Katie a trailer after this movie.
Okay. I also just like that he like calls her Nicole Mary, like first and middle name. That was like, I feel like you don't hear that too much, and it's just kind of like almost more endearing for some reason. And I also liked that he said when he like went to thank his team and everyone who works behind the scenes to make everything work, like no such thing as a self-made man. So he's like, I want to thank everyone behind the scenes because there's no such thing as a self-made man. I was like, ooh, I like how that sounds. And yeah, it's good to acknowledge everyone on the team because it's not just you. Then like they had like another Bobby Bones thing and they went to Jessie Joe Dillon in the crowd who won Songwriter of the Year. Yeah. So I'm glad that they were able to acknowledge her. And I think he did like radio people or something at one point, but obviously don't do individuals for that because that's just a lot of people. But I went and looked up some of her stuff from the last year. She wrote a lot of she has a lot of co-writes on Am I Okay and Patterns, so 2 big albums of the last year. Also Happened to Me, Russell Dickerson, Lies, 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 Morgan Wallen, and Messed Up as Me, Keith Urban. So she has a lot of songs in the last year. So very deserving for Songwriter of the Year, and I think it's her second year in a row winning that.
Oh, nice.
And then Whirlwind won Album of the Year, which I am happy about. Beautifully Broken. They read off all the producers. It has so many producers. And I was like, okay, this is going on for a while. But I understand you have to acknowledge all of them. But it's like, this is a long list.
Well, because I feel like because of Jelly Roll's style, it's probably like each person he works with has like a team of their own. Like I feel like
too.
Yeah.
Like instead of feel like in country it's usually like Whirlwind was produced by Jay Joyce and it's the whole record.
Yeah.
With where he comes from being outside of country, it's like, okay, some songs are by this guy, but then work with this producer on these songs. And so then it adds up when it's for an entire album, especially because I think that's a fairly long album.
Yeah.
Cody Johnson performed The Fall, which is a new song of his, and then Brooks and Dunn came out and they all sang Red Dirt Road together. I don't really have anything on that.
I did see that. I did see TikToks of people saying like, why was no one singing along to that song?
Oh, no one was singing. I guess I didn't notice that. But You Look Like You Love Me won Music Event of the Year. We mentioned later. I noticed that the footage they used for Kelsey and Noah for Cowboys Cry 2 was from when they played Stick Season together. And I was like, why is this not footage from the right song? Because that's the only one that's like a different song from what's actually being played. But okay. Ella, she was like, I blacked out last time I was up here. I have no idea what I said. Something about Conway Twitty, I think. And said, I'm still flabbergasted. I don't even fully know what that word means. It's just like, I don't know. She just kept making me laugh because I'm like, what are you saying right now?
She doesn't know either.
She doesn't know either. But yeah. Also, she did have Riley talk for Single of the Year, but he like didn't get a chance to speak for this one, and I don't know if she was just like so in shock and not even knowing what to do at this point that she forgot to let him speak or what.
Well, not to perpetuate rumors, but a lot of people think that they dated or slept together or something, and so they were like over analyzing all over the internet of like they had weird chemistry on stage and all this stuff.
Did, no.
They literally just played Country Thunder not too long ago, like last weekend. So
that's when
I think they're okay, but
that's when like they had a video of Reba during that set be like, hey, you won visual media of the year. So that one was
Yeah.
like a pre-show announcement one too.
But
so.
people think that her and him and Megan Maroney have this weird love triangle going on. So
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand it. But and then they had Reba, Lainey Wilson, and Miranda Lambert perform Trailblazers, which is a new song, and I loved it. I loved that they matched outfits, but also still like had them personalized to their style with like the like brown suede and then the turquoise. What do you call it? Turquoise.
the like
accents, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm like, what word am I trying to look for? But it's basically a song just like celebrating the women of country music, blazing trails, and how women have like passed the torch from one to the next. And I loved that there was like a line for Lainey before it went to Miranda of gave a match like me a little kerosene. And then Reba and second verse was like, it was Dolly and Loretta, Patsy and Tammy too. They gave me a seat at the table and I'm saving one for you. And I was like, why is that making me emotional?
They should have had Marin and what's her?
The highway women. Yeah.
Because that's like
they
seat
have the
at
crowded
the table.
table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it made me think of.
Yeah, but it's just like 3 generations of country music there with like Reba, and then Miranda's like the 2000s, and then like Lainey's kind of the current / next generation.
Yeah.
Or I know she talked in an interview about how she wants to pass it on to the next generation. So I guess she's kind of current, but there was a couple times people spoke of her throughout the night saying like, you're the next generation. But I feel like
she still has like the current and like the next 5 to 10 years to be like top. Yeah. Getting all the awards, Carrie Miranda level of like, I think she's really since especially now that Carrie Miranda and everyone's like, this is the first time they haven't shown up and won or been nominated and all that stuff. I think she's really taken that spot where we thought it was going to be Miranda or Marin and Kelsey.
Yeah.
And people were, I just hated that they were trying to pit them against each other like they did for Carrie and Miranda so much. So, but I like that. Yeah. And it seems like we have a strong front woman at the head of it at least.
Yeah.
But
and I know she's talked about like kind of wanting to do what people have done for her with the next generation and kind of like talking about Ella, and so like Lainey passing it to Ella in a way. But I feel like they're both kind of still in the same generation. Ella's just like a couple years behind her, so it's still kind of one generation in the sense of like we're technically Gen Z, but we're kind of like on the cusp of millennial. But then there's people like several years younger than us that are also technically in our generation, if you think of it that way. But yeah, I loved that. And then we had Entertainer of the Year, Blake Shelton. He presented, and he had been the one to introduce Lainey's performance earlier in the night and said her name the same way both times. It was like, Lainey freaking Wilson. I was like, okay,
I just saw he took such a big dramatic pause before he said it.
I was like, okay. He did. I liked that they're like the first time this award was given out, the nominees were and like named them, and it was Johnny Cash, Glenn Campbell, Merle Haggard, Elvis Presley, and Charlie Pride. So it's just crazy to think of like who it was in 1966 compared to now.
Yeah.
My brain also was like, oh man.
They didn't really have any women back then besides like.
I'm like, when was Loretta? Yeah. I know she was the first woman to win, but I think that might have been
I think that's in the 70s, though, yeah.
She was like 70s. So probably a decade too early for her.
Yeah.
Jelly Roll had heart hands for Lainey. It was like, oh, that's cute. I liked that she mentioned in her speech dealing with imposter syndrome, because I feel like that's just an important topic to talk about and be like, oh, okay, you feel this too. Also mentioned like she read something of like, if something is given to you, accept it with an open heart and an open mind. So I feel like every time she speaks, she has something like wise words to say. So
she feels so much older, and we were talking about this before the podcast of like how old we are compared to a lot of these people, and it's just like we're the same age as a lot of them and makes us feel old. But I don't think
Lainey's 32. Her birthday's like next week, so she'll be 33.
So she's 6 years older than us. 7 years older than us.
math. My brain.
No, 6.
You keep throwing out numbers
6,
and my brain can't
2,
count.
4, 6.
What was the year? 92, 6.
Yeah.
7
so, like,
for
that's
you.
crazy.
But yeah, and then Ella's like a year younger. So there's that. But she's the third woman to win Entertainer of the Year in back-to-back years. Carrie did it in 2009 and 2010, and then Taylor did it in 2011, 2012. So she's the third woman to do that. So that's cool as well. They ended the night with Rascal Flatts and Backstreet Boys, which was interesting because I'm like, they have to do more than one song, right? Because the one that they released together is what hurts the most. I'm like, don't tell me you're ending the night on a ballad. That's weird. So they did that, and then Backstreet Boys left, and Rascal Flatts is singing I Dare You, which is the collab with Jonas Brothers. And I was like, is Jonas Brothers coming out right now? Like, what's happening? And no Jonas Brothers, just them.
Well, and speaking of Jonas Brothers, because
Joe was in Nashville.
He popped up in Nashville at this coffee shop. Then he went to Alex Warren's show and popped up there. Then he went to Jelly Roll's show and popped up there. So he's just been all over, which I was going to say is great marketing. And I think that's what's smart is like everyone always wants to like pop up things. If I was an artist, so I'd be popping up all over the place.
Because it gets people to talk.
It gets people to talk. That's your viral moment. That's not just centered around like this where you want the song to be centered around, but like then you don't have like that burnout viral moment, which I was just thinking about in my head, which is why, because I was thinking of people like Priscilla Block and stuff like that, and like how they should be like so much bigger, I think, than they like where they had like big steam and then like they died down, and we were talking about these number ones, and I think people like Ella, and here's what's frustrating is that, or just like very interesting to think about, is because supposedly artists and labels and all this stuff want those viral people, right? But in order to have those viral moments and those big number ones and stuff, then you run the risk of, well, you don't know that you run the risk of it until we just brought it up and put it into light of, well, then the next single's not going to do as well. But people like Ella, who feel like they've been around as long as all this stuff and like have that thing, didn't have that big viral moment until she started now kind of doing a whole bunch of stuff with Riley and all this stuff. But she had a solid fan and thing. So sometimes it really is just all about, because she had, before she cut her hair, she had a whole long ass career.
Yeah, she
before
had stuff
all
out
this stuff.
before
And
her
then
haircut.
This haircut change again. Hollywood Hair Theory. We have a whole video about it. But
she just cut her bangs by herself and then had to get them fixed or something. Like, it wasn't like a deliberate thing.
They look really pretty though. I love
them.
But like, that's the thing. But you have to have people supporting you from day one. And then but then see, the thing is that's how you have like a big, long, steady career, if it works as well with the viral moments and people genuinely tag on. Because there's plenty of people that also people back up, and I've seen since day one, since I was here, and everyone will throw money at them and support them no matter what, but it just doesn't work out in the long run because it just doesn't catch on for whatever reason. So you have like 3 different paths. You either have like the viral moment that then you can lose steam really easily. You have the big, long, lasting career that people just believed in you since day one. And even if your songs were shit day one, they were like, you have something special, I'm taking you. And you're signed from day one, even though no one knows who you are. But supposedly labels don't want that. They want the people that know who they are already. Or you have the people that get supported and still don't do anything. So, and then you're the rest of us. But like, those are the 3 like that feel like they have some momentum and stuff going for them, you know?
Right. Yeah.
We've talked for an hour.
I know.
And not a lot.
This is the final thing, was that Jonas Brothers did not come out. But also I was like, he was in Nashville, but like, you could fly in the morning of, but whatever.
I was also about to text Katie and be like, well, Nick Jonas was at the Met, but he could also fly on a plane that day
fly
after.
to Texas the day of. But then after I Dare You, Backstreet Boys sang like a bit of Larger Than Life without Rascal Flatts, and then they all came together to sing Life is a Highway for the ending. So it was
It's just very random. It doesn't feel like it needed to happen.
Yeah, I was just
especially for an ending, like
I don't know, because Backstreet Boys I feel like was like the boy group or whatever for the millennials, and like we have the Jonas Brothers for us, so I was just let down because I'm like, wait, are they coming out? And then they didn't.
That would have
So I
been the
was
smart
like,
move. You know what they should have
that would
ended
have
with?
been better, but
They should have ended with the
personally,
Trailblazer song. That would have
Yeah.
made the most sense.
I don't know if that's like energetic enough.
But that would be my only thing. But
Yeah.
as far as collab and everything like that, and the audience that you're trying to reach, like throwing that at the end just felt like a cheap shot to try and keep everybody there. But
Yeah.
who was waiting for that? No
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. We've talked so long.
I know, we need to stop.
I know, but there's so much stuff online right now about the entertainer thing.
Okay, so that's what I was gonna, yes, because I did want to talk about it, because everyone thinks that Kelsey got snubbed.
They think that there's so much promotion leading up to the award show that they like had her in, that they're like, they used her for promo and then they didn't give her the award.
I just disagree
But
though, because
I still think it's next year for her.
Yes, because
and people are
even
like, don't say next year. I'm like, no, she's
Katie
not
and I
quite
had this
there
whole
yet.
conversation about how, like, if you were looking at the submission periods, technically it should have been next year. Now, do people look at submission periods all the time? No. You could tell that with a lot of
And all the footage for
things.
when they list the nominees is footage from the 2025 tour. So, like, I get that. But, yeah, you look at the tours that the other people are doing and everything, and I'm just like, okay, like, I still think it was late enough in the year for what she did do in 2024 and stuff. Like, it should be next year for her. Like,
Yeah.
I think she's almost there, but I just think she needs one more year.
The other
and then she
debate
can get
about
that.
it is, I don't think Kelsey's getting snubbed necessarily, but I think you have a lot of the country music's always struggling with what country music is. And so a lot of people want to vote for Lainey just in the purest form of country.
Yeah.
In their heart of hearts. So unfortunately, it's not a snub. It's not this. It's not anything other than the fact that that's just what the people that have voting power want to vote for. Yeah. Period. Like, that's kind of it.
It's also a lot of campaigning with the labels and the behind the scenes of like, vote for these people.
And I saw a lot of behind the scenes campaigns for Lainey.
BBR is a bigger label than Black River. So,
and Kelsey did not get a lot of promotion besides, well, that's the thing is, Lainey got a lot of promotion on the back end of like the industry. Kelsey got a lot of promotion with her fans and everything like that. But the fans don't decide that.
It's not a fan voted award.
So that's where you're getting so that's why I think a lot of people are like, well, Kelsey and all this. I also did not see any promotion really for the ACM, so I didn't see what everyone was talking about.
Yeah.
But I was like, if you listened to our episode last week, before this all happened, or 2 weeks ago when we talked about the
we talked about nominations,
we already said she's not going to win. So it wasn't a surprise. I was surprised everyone thought this was some big conspiracy theory against Kelsey. Also, Kelsey has said in the past that she gets disappointed, but I think it's always going to be like you have that hope of like what if, but like I think there's just too many other people that I think the industry itself is going to lean more towards, like Megan and Lainey, before they're going to go to Kelsey, unfortunately. Right. That's not to say that she doesn't have a bigger fan base. That's not to say any other fair qualifications are there.
So hard.
It's not to say
talented,
that everyone in that audience wasn't there for her, because I saw it like firsthand. That I have never seen an industry pit go as hard as they did for fucking Kelsey Ballerini.
Yeah.
It's more, do they have the pool?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. And that's just what it is. So.
Yeah, so I still think potentially next year, I'm curious to see, because her tour is over, but maybe she'll do a fall leg or something. Like, if she does something like that, that would help her chances too, if it's like a bigger tour, because it felt very short. It did. I know it was like several months long, but still for some reason felt like it went by really quick. And then, like, you think of, like, how Lainey,
her popness, though, because of the fact that she had to prove herself so long to even get arena tours and, like, selling out arenas and all this stuff. Like, she's very much like Sabrina. I feel like if she wanted to put another leg on, it would sell really well and stuff. Whereas, like, Lainey, they just gave Lainey everything. And they said, okay, here's your tour and go out and do it. Because the country market she didn't break any rules in the country market, whereas Kelsey breaks some purist country rules. So it's like, whatever. It just goes back to the country market being finicky for country purists.
There'll also be probably a shakeup with Entertainer next year because I think it was last time we recorded or something. I talked about, not on the podcast, but saw Luke Combs post about how he's only playing festivals this year and he's not taking much time to play shows. So in that sense, he technically shouldn't be nominated next year, because he's not playing as much, so that would open up a spot for other people as well. So we'll see. But yeah. If you have thoughts on the ACMs that you would like to share with us, you can comment them on our socials at the Music Lens Podcast, or you can email them to us at the Music Lens Podcast at gmail.com. That's probably the better way to do it if it's like anything that's lengthy, I guess. And go ahead, and if you could take the time to rate and review us on wherever you're listening and download our episodes, that is very helpful for podcasters to have those to help with the algorithm and all that, so we can reach more people. You could follow Alex at Alex Allegra Music and stream her new song, Ego.
Please stream Ego.
Which came out this past Friday. And you could follow me at Katie Fee Music on all the things. And we will see you next time.
Bye.